Welcome back. Market vendors at the temporary provisions market are making it clear that they will not be dipping for numbers to get a stall in the newly refurbished market. The vendors indicated that they had been made promises and believe the people who followed the rules should get first priority. On the other hand, vendor coordinator Augustine Victor says there is a process, and in order to ensure that there are no accusations of preference or bias, the rules will have to be followed.
The Castries City Council informed the vendors at the temporary Castries Provision Market that dipping for stall numbers would commence on Friday 15th May in order to be taken up to the newly refurbished Castries Market. Majority of the vendors, however, seem to be opposed to the idea. On Friday morning, many vendors could be seen brandishing cardboard chips with the stall number they said they had already selected in the first instance when they visited the new market. Priscilla Jeremy says she has made up her mind and will not be dipping for another number.
This is my number. Yes, number 45. That is the number they give me. And I'm not going to dip. I'm not a raffle. I am not on the square. I am not nowhere. Because when they was bringing us down here, they didn't make us to raffle. They didn't make us to dip. We could have carried a load on top of our head and come down here with it. Okay? We have been taking rain, sun, wind, dust, and everything. So why they want to treat us like that? We were there already, not to say that we were not in the market at all. We were in the market already. They just renewed the market. You know where I'm coming from? Why they treating us like that? Like as if we're not nothing.
Lucita Ferdinand, another vendor, says the vendors should be allowed to select whichever tree or spot they want, as this is what obtained previously.
If you build something for somebody and you give them the keys, why you want to control how they utilize it? I find that is not right, because you know, like, for all this time, why would you want to be controlling what number that the person takes? You either just get 10 by 10 people and then you bring them there to choose where they want to be. That's what I see.
She asserted priority should be given to vendors who have been at the market for longer periods of time.
Priority, you should give priority to the people that have been here for a long time. Yes, well, if you've been a vendor for over 5-10 years, obviously that's an obvious thing. You have to get priority. Why the complaining for somebody that just come like maybe about a year? Why you want to complain about somebody that have been there for 10 years, working hard, hustling? You want to complain about that when they get a large tray and you have a small one. You just come, everything you have to start small is 10 cents that come climbing up to become $1.
Vendor coordinator Augustine Victor, however, explained that the allegations that vendors had already selected their numbers were untrue and the dipping process was to ensure there would be no claims of preference.
There was no process of vendors already choose their booth. Some vendors went to the new market on their own and they just decided, well, that is the booth and whatnot. We have all the vendors' name down there. We understand all the vendors that remain there. What we're trying to prevent, the same vendors who say to put them there are the same vendors will say that we choose both to give other people the front or the back or the middle and whatnot. So to prevent this kind of situation where the government don't get flack, the mayor, the CEO, myself as a coordinator, the market manager, if people dip, it means that you dip and you get a number. So you will not say that we had preference from for vendors. And this is the process that we want to really carry on, just to make sure that everybody equal share.
Victor clarified that vendors have already been notified that persons would be dipping according to the size of their current trays, and as such, there would be no unjust distribution of trays to undeserving persons.
All the large trays, vendors, will be in a bag for dipping, and all small will be in another bag. So in other words, the small and the big is not together. So all the people that have large trays, which already we have the name, when they dip and they get a number, they get in the large tray, and the small one will get the small trays.
The coordinator says while vendors will not be forced to dip on Friday, the council would expect them to cooperate as the process is meant to avoid unnecessary contention. Victor asserted that he would be willing to explain to the vendors again the process and rationale behind the dipping process, as the very rationale for the new market project is to improve conditions of the vendors. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzaga.
Prime Minister Alan Shasney says moving forward, regional agencies will play a greater role in mapping the road to economic recovery. Noting the common issues facing countries throughout the region, he explained that Caribbean islands must pull their resources together to face the coming adversities.
In continuing its strategic approach to St. Lucia's COVID-19 response, the government announced plans for the measured and phased approach to reopening St. Lucia's economy, a feat which Prime Minister Alan Shasney said will take an approach laced with regional integration. Following discussions with CARICOM and an assessment of the current state of the economy, the PM said St. Lucia does not currently have the capacity to overcome the developing economic situation on its own.
The economic fallout of COVID is something that we don't have the ability of solving. And when you hear numbers like 36 million Americans are unemployed as of yesterday, and we were on a meeting with the airline industry, and you hear airlines saying that they're not intending to recommence services into the Caribbean until the summer of 21, or you hear that 80% of the airlines have 3 months of cash reserves and they're down to 1 month to go, or that their prognosis is that the air traffic will potentially return to its pre-COVID levels by 2025. These are sobering numbers. The next part of COVID is to start reopening our economy, and that process has started. The plan that's going to be presented today is to outline for the next couple of months what we expect to see happen.
The Prime Minister said, as things progress, procedures will be revisited with caution. He underscored that a full recovery is unlikely until a vaccine is available.
This pandemic has now created a change in our environment, and one in which we're going to be forced to adapt to moving forward. So first of all, our behavior, until there is going to be a vaccine for corona, but I assure you, the same thing that corona has done, we are still very susceptible in the future because we never know where the next virus is going to come from. And what we've certainly learned through corona is how integrated the world is and how accustomed we have become in physically contacting each other. And therefore, a lot of things that we have been doing in the past and been taken for granted needs to change.
The Prime Minister is scheduled to further address the nation on Saturday, May 16th at 10 a.m. via the Government Information Services media platforms. Jacka Whitting, Hot 7 News.
The Ministry of Education has announced that it is considering the return of grade 6 and Form 5 students during this academic year based on the advice of the Ministry of Health. This is in preparation for the Common Entrance and CSEC examinations. We took to the streets to get your views on the proposed phased reopening of schools for grade 6 and Form 5 students. Do you think it's achievable?
Yeah, trying to write Common Entrance and go write CXCs because you need the education. So, yeah, it's a very good thing. So I think they should do it, definitely.
Well, yes, it is possible. Everything is good to try. It's only a failure that will be the trial, you understand? So it is good that they do something instead of doing nothing. So I support whatever action they taken, which would still be in favor of the children rather than they stay wasting their time, because an idle brain is the devil's workshop.
We have no problem with that. The children have to go to school, eh? We have no problem with that. Yeah, they can, yeah. Just for the exams, no problem. But to me, they should just open the country fully.
It depends on the interest of the children. If they're really interested in, expressing themselves emphasizing on getting out of that problem we have in that corona, because it is destructive towards the children, So I don't know how, if, we can work it out by encouraging the children. That's how I look at it. So I think we should try to, be more keen in encouraging the children and the school children, because they're getting frustrated over that virus thing.
Yeah, it's okay that they open the country to let them do their exams once they practice social distancing and they make sure that they wear their masks and follow protocols.
Well, to me, they can reopen it because for the students, and it's just that you have to let all of them wear their masks for protection. But to me, it makes sense reopening it for them, especially they need the education, and that's a very important thing. So you all should reopen it, but make sure that all students wear their masks.
The story of the abandoned baby has been tugging on the heartstrings of people both here and abroad. Callers to Hot FM's #1 rated morning talk show, The Morning Buzz with Lady Lee, expressed their views on the matter. Many say they will not be too quick to judge the mother and appealed for empathy and understanding toward her.
I think maybe this person is in some sort of depression. Maybe she was raped and cannot bear to see this child, so she deal with. Or maybe the person whom she was pregnant for is not supportive. So she finds herself maybe, a jam with the child now. I know sometimes people will judge her, but I hope the St. Lucian community, if and when she is found out, be supportive of her, and maybe somebody can adopt the child and give the child a loving home. And the most I think they should do is to be supportive of her, because we never know. Maybe from childhood she suffered something, and we don't know that. So the one thing I'm saying is, if and when she's found out, maybe counseling and her community and family and the whole of St. Lucia too, support her. Try to help her get out of what she is, because that looks like either some sort of depression, maybe postpartum depression or whatever, or something she suffered when she was young. That's my take on that.
Sometimes we all draw conclusions as to what happened, but at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves a lot of questions. I'm not saying I'm not supporting what she did, but someone's going through 9 months. You don't know what the person goes through. Probably she was at home. She had no person there to assist her, and then she ended up doing a baby on her own. We must ask ourselves some question. Why did she not throw the baby in a dumpster, left in a bag where somebody could see? Sometimes when you go through, I'm sure if you speak to persons who are better able to answer the questions, some persons, yes, 7 months, they're happy they have a child. Sometimes stress, sometimes depression, all that can cause you to do things that you never thought that you would do. I'm not saying yes, what she did is wrong, is right, but we have to ask ourselves some question. Why did she leave the baby in clear sight for somebody to see, not throw it in a hole somewhere or dump that child somewhere? But this is what I really had to say about that question. But at the end, it's sad what's happening to our country, but let us find out and ask ourselves some questions. What actually happened? Thank you.
I would not like nobody to bad talk the lady or call her any names for whatever reason they may assert or predict that she was in. The only thing I would say is that she made a poor decision, and she probably wanted that child to live. So the best decision was to let the child be in a position where the child would become famous and somebody would take the initiative to help that child. She wanted that child to live. If she was a bad mother, as anybody is talking about, she would have done the worst, the unthinkable. But she's not. It's just that she made a poor decision. But my advice for any female who find themselves in that kind of situation, it would be better to just after you're going through this normal pregnancy routine as a woman, go to the hospital and you can, after delivery, walk out and leave the child there. That's a better decision, you know. But the other lady, maybe desperation caused her to put that child in that situation. But she did the best she could. So nobody should be calling her names because she did not kill the child. She left the child, and knowing in her heart that God would send someone, some good Samaritan, to rescue the child. That was a good decision she made in the best of her circumstance.
A psychologist might give a different take on this entirely. And it's interesting that they had two female callers who called, and I'm kind of like agreeing with them. Because maybe the young lady, when she carried that child for the 9 months, she never had intention of giving up that child. But like we know as females, there's something called
postpartum depression.
Postpartum depression,
Yes.
that is it. And then after she gave birth, maybe that thing just attacked her. You understand? And some people would not understand why she did it. I don't understand myself. But like I said, a psychologist might have a different take on that. Maybe it's not her fault. Maybe she suffered the depression, you know. And I mean, I'm not saying she had the right to put the child in a bag by the garbage, but the good thing is she did not kill the baby. You know, she did not kill the baby. So she wanted that baby to live, but probably she had a reason for doing it that way. Now, the other thing is some persons are saying she should have given up the child, go to the hospital or call a friend. But this thing is embarrassing for that thing might have been embarrassing for the lady, because to give up your baby, you do a giving up story, and then people say, oh, she gave up the baby, blah. So it might have been embarrassing for her. She wants to remain unknown, you know, but at the same time she wants the baby to live, but she just don't want anybody to know she gave up a baby. So this thing has different facets. And I think we should empathize with the lady to an extent, and don't judge her and don't blame her and, you know, want to beat her up because she did that, because she could have had many, many reasons for doing it. And I thank God she didn't have the right to throw the baby in the bag or wherever she put it, but I thank God that the baby is alive. She did not kill the baby. That's the good thing. She did not kill the baby. So, you know, let us empathize with her and pray for her at the end of the day, and that the baby will be safe.
This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Sports and weather are coming up after the break.